Snacks. Somebody could check to see if the Facebook is actually on. That would be great. Good morning.
Morning.
I'm trying to figure out where my Zoom went to. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. I cannot believe we are all already in the middle of January, folks. Can you believe that? Okay, let me get my screen shared here. And if someone here could double check, let's see. I have to figure out where the right thing is, hopefully. That and then, oops. Go to, uh-oh, that did not work. Thank you. All right, we got to find my right screen, however, because it disappeared. Where did it go? That's the screen we want to share. Let's try sharing again, folks. There we go. All right. Hopefully. Folks online, I'm going to hide you a little bit down here, if I can do that. If somebody's able to kind of watch that, if somebody's got questions, you can let me know. But we will get our meeting started. Again, Happy New Year. I cannot believe we are already January 16th. How did that happen? How many of you went to the Realtor Day at the Capitol? Couple of you? You were there? No?
I got closed out.
Oh, you got closed out. Okay, so for future reference, if you ever want to go to Realtor Day at the Capitol, when you first see that invitation, sign up because it sells out very quickly. And then a whole bunch of people are like, it's sold out. They did have a wait list and they were taking people walking up, but people walking up had to pay for lunch. So I think they didn't really want to do that. And so, but that's the reason they do it, because they have to pay for the lunch. All right, let's try going to this. Oh, that's much better. All right. We have a lot of birthdays today. I don't know what I can do about this a little bit. I'll move him down here. Somebody's got a chat going on here. Thank you, Stacy. Okay. How many of you have January birthdays? What a great way to start the year. Happy birthday. We got a lot of you. Lots of fun birthdays in here. All right. We also have, oh my goodness, is this not going to work? Where are we? Why is my screen? There we go. We have a lot of anniversaries here. This is so fun because our office, so I see every office's anniversaries and stuff and things. And, you know, they get like 10, 20 people with, you know, they get 10 people with a few years because we're one of the oldest offices, right? Scottsdale is the only one that's older than we are here in Arizona. Well, no, Glendale, I guess. But we've got a lot of folks here. Momta, you've been here 13 years. You're right behind me. Congratulations. That's pretty incredible. And Jim, is it 13? Is it 12? It's 12 years.
For general?
Yeah.
That was 11. So yeah, August of 11.
Yeah. So, all right. We got some others. Who else has an anniversary this month for being here? I'm not looking through the list to see who's here. So nobody else in January? Few people. Somebody back there. Yay! Congratulations. All right. So, some of us thought the market was cooling off and all that fun stuff, and December's traditionally the slowest month of the year, right? Well, guess what? We heated up in December. We closed more deals. Oh my goodness. Leaf, can you go in my office and grab I have a yellow pad sitting on my desk I meant to bring over here with me. We ended up still closing out the year. I don't know how to get rid of this little guy. So you can, it's so hard. Thank you so much. Somebody's got to have a way to flip this to the side. There used to be a way you could move it over. Oh, that is not what I wanted to do. How did that happen? Anybody know how over? There we go.
On the right side.
Well, I want to go back to that. Okay, we'll leave that little guy in the middle there. So, but I wanted to make sure you saw that we had 106 lives. Now, that may seem a little silly, but last month in November, I actually did put these notes down. We had 101 lives. So we helped another 5 people. But what is really interesting about that is that we went from 44 million to 69 million in December. 5 more lives, but a heck of a lot more money. So I'm not quite sure who did all those. That's a huge shift, folks. But and we added more people. We had I think there were 9 the month before, and we have 12. Is that right? Or 16? We have 16 on the $1 Million Club. So there was business in December, folks. And again, traditionally, and this is not, last year or the year before, this is traditionally December is our lowest production month overall, okay, in Arizona. We always have this cycle. And we went November and went up in December. How many of you had December closings? Congratulations. That's awesome. How many of your December closings closed in January? So couple of things got rolled over. How many of you were impacted by not 1, but 2 title company problems in November and December? Our title company people. But how many other people were impacted by all those? Does everybody know about that? So it was Fidelity. I'm sorry, it was Fidelity Title initially, and that impacted 5. I'm not sure if I can remember all of them. Grand Canyon, Security, Chicago, Fidelity, and no, that's not, no, and land no. Lawyers, thank you, lawyers. Those were the first 5. And
But that wasn't, let me interrupt you, that wasn't a title company breach. That was their program that they utilized.
okay, so Fidelity's program was breached, and depending on how the other companies used Fidelity's program, depended on how much they were impacted. And I know people in this office were impacted. And again, depending on which of those 5 companies, depended on what happened. We did have one agent that had a $2.3 million closing set to close that day. The money had been sent when everything got shut down. And Grand Canyon's escrow officer went old school, actually realized there is a county recorder that you can actually walk into. And she checked the bank records, made sure the money was there, and she did record for our client. We could not get the closing packet until the following week. When I checked with Fidelity about other deals potentially closing, they informed me that they could not go to the county recorder's office. I was like, I'm not quite sure why, but they couldn't. So, but other people did. So remember, if you run into those glitches, don't just, hide, try to figure out if there's some other solutions. Now, the next breach was First American. And can you tell us, Roberta, what happened with that First American titles breach?
It was the same security breach. It was not only First American, but all of their businesses. Everything that's owned by First American, which is lenders, our title search platform. So not only did that affect First American, but it affected all title companies because most of us utilize the same search platform, DataTrace.
So what happened?
They didn't give any details on exactly what, but it was a security breach.
So, so just so you know, Rock Title does use First American to pull your title reports. So they were able to close files that were already in process because they didn't need to pull the data searches. For new files, they could not initially pull those, but they kept checking with First American, and it was 3 days a week. Yeah, it wasn't.
There was a holiday in the middle.
Yeah.
And just so you guys know, they can pull, but there was a time, believe it or not, when they weren't computers. So they can actually pull title. I actually had one of our deals actually that we were waiting on, that they actually went for old school. And they did it manually, and they pulled in the dummy title report today. So I mean, it can be done. So like she said, like the daughter said, well, you can't go down the wall. You can't go down, and you choose not to. Doesn't mean it's not possible.
Well,
We try to go the extra mile if we can.
and in some cases, they may not have been able to if they literally did not have paper files. But as I was told by Rock, you still have paper files on every file you're working. So again, it just depends on the title company and the escrow officers and how they manage their files. So really appreciate the work Rock Title did. They also kept us afield of what was going on with the Fidelity, even though they weren't impacted by it. It was very helpful to have somebody to call and say, what do you know? Because I was getting calls from agents going, what am I supposed to do now? And you're kind of stuck. So I did actually call the legal hotline to ask, so what happens if a buyer loses a rate lock in this time period? What happens if the seller says the buyer can't close, I'm out of here? I actually trumped Rick Mack. He did not have an answer. He said, that's a good question. There could be potential liability on the title company, but he said, I will have to get back to you, and things got resolved, and I guess nobody lost a rate lock, so I didn't follow up with him. But you know, that was the question. We had no idea what the timing was. So if you had a buyer, I mean, just so you know, the timing of this was 2 days before Thanksgiving. So people planning to schedule to close for Thanksgiving and move Thanksgiving Day, or 3 days prior to Thanksgiving. No, the first one was Thanksgiving. The second one,
The 28th, because that had the deal went under contract and they couldn't process it, so they moved it to bond.
so you were able to move it, but those that were in process, not so easy to move the file because your money's there. They couldn't get the money out either. So it was really an interesting mess. But congratulations to all those on the $1 Million Club for last month. You know, we don't bring this up just to tout our $1 million producers. We bring this up to show you the production that's going on, and also for you to strive to be a part of that club. If you're working, you know, some of us don't do $1 million deals. That was never my area of expertise, you know, but that doesn't mean you can't put a couple of deals together and all of a sudden end up there. And it's pretty cool to be on there. So, but really a great kudos to all of you that did. Yes.
When you move, you know, this was a different scenario. Say, for any reason, one has to move and the buyer has deposited the earnest money to the title one. And then they have to say move to title two. How does that earnest money transfer to the other side? We just.
They hadn't opened.
Contract, so then it's okay, but if the.
In that situation, normally the buyer would have to sign an instruction with the title company number one, they authorize you to release their money to title company number two.
But in
You
that,
just know, you never know what circumstances.
but in that situation, their financials were closed down, so they couldn't even check the money.
They couldn't process after 3 days, they
Right.
went and they said, hey, we opened escrow, we said, oh.
No.
Yeah, but it's good to know that or any other situation, you know, in this today's digital world.
But no, I'll do everything I can to find my way around it. Even if for some reason,
Yeah.
they can hold that money, we can addendum saying, hey, we're gonna move out here, kind of going, and once that, they will be released, we'll use those funds. Come to their fund.
So online, I hope you guys are hearing this conversation. I'm sorry about that if you're not.
And so,
Okay, all right. I'm showing you a comparison here. Again, I'm sorry about this guy in the way. We'll just put him down here. Okay, so I'm showing you November on the left and December on the right, just to again show some of that comparison. I do have my regular sheet. The next page is the regular one, but you know, the sales price went down about 10,000, but the number of properties sold in December went up 303. Under contract went down by 229. Now that's not surprising, right? Because we traditionally see a decrease at the end of November, December because of the holidays, people that want to be off the market or people that want to clear days on market to be ready for January. So there's often, you know, a decrease in kind of that activity, not under contract, but those actives, which you'll see active and coming soon went down 817. Days on market went up 5 days. Not really a big deal. Not much. And then the last box, this is just going to drive me nuts today. The last box is the percentage is year over year. And I wanted to make sure you guys were seeing this is not from the month before. This is from a year before, right? This is comparing November of 22 to November of this year. And this is comparing December of 22 with December of 23. So the contracts were up year over year by 5.3%, which is kind of crazy if you think about that, right? Yes.
Melissa, in November, it says contracts down 5.1%. So it means it's not just 5, if you look at it technically it's 8%.
No, because you got to look at where it is year over year.
Right, but
Right. So, yeah, no, because it's really, I mean, but the contracts from the year before, this December was a very active December, right?
because interest rates dropped. Interest rates dropped in December.
When did the interest rates drop? I don't,
Well, last year it was hiking up and it went 8 last year.
oh, last
This
December?
year, it's very optimistic.
Sure.
There's a big change.
Okay.
Did come down a little.
Okay. All right. So let's see if I click on here. So this is the usual report that I'll give you so you can see the whole thing. This will hide at some point, I guess. I swear I know there's a way to get rid of that, but okay. So what I did this time, I did a little shift. If you look at the very top, this is pulling from the general ARMLS, which remember is pulling all over the state. It's not just pulling Maricopa County. So what I did, because it's not what's visible, actually, I think it is what's visible on here, but I pulled November numbers. So the blue are the November numbers and you're seeing the December shift. Okay, so the blue was last month's active and coming soon was 16,287. This month was 14,470. So you can just see kind of that transition there. And again, we knew active and coming soon went down. Sold listings went up. UCB and pending went down. Now, Maricopa County active overall is at 11,571. This is what I pulled last night. It's down 188. Again, a little shift because we're a week later from our meeting. So I don't know if that's going to have any change on it, but a little different. Single family active is down 268. I don't think these numbers are very odd to be a little bit down. We always see a slope up in January as people start to get back on the market. Our coming soon is up 97, and our last month again was up for single family 867 in Maricopa County. 10-mile radius, again, not much change at all here. We've seen this month over month over month, right? These numbers are really, really tiny. Down 184, single family down 109. I loved that our pending was up 1. Like, somebody else got in there. Single family down 29. Coming soon, though, is trending just a little bit up. And interestingly, in this neighborhood, which is a big area, by the way, 10-mile radius, but it's down, last month, we were down 166. So that increase was further out and not right here. See, every time I touch that thing, it won't take that. Okay. We'll move it again. All right, so there we got a blank spot. Looking at the Fannie Mae 1004s, here is our latest change here. These are the last sets from the last month, but up at the top, you'll see that the armless stats for Maricopa stayed the same. The sales price stayed around 500. The list price decreased to 595 as the average. The housing supply increased to 3.2 months. You'll see, I'm not sure why this is saying 3.6. Maybe I didn't change that number there. 530. Oh, I don't know what the heck I just did. Did I not write the numbers right? Well, here is the current here, and maybe I didn't change it over there. So 3.66 for the increase, and 459 is the sales price, and 530 is the list price. So I must not have updated those on the left-hand side. Let's see if I got the other one corrected. I'm just tracking these month over month over month because we take these each time so you can see kind of the transition. I don't know what the heck I did on that other one, so we'll go. All right, 10-mile radius. Now these I know I played with. So because I thought this was interesting, these numbers up here, we increased the exact same amount from last month by 5,495. I'm like, how do you increase exactly the same amount month over month? The other one is the median list price decreased. Last month it decreased 2,500. This month it decreased 1,500. The increase of supply to 3.66 on the month was only 0.3 up from the last month's housing supply. So not a very big shift. So, okay, let's move on. All right, I sent this out. I am not going to comment on this anymore, but please, if you see things online, please don't believe everything you see online, even if it comes from multiple sources, I guess. Many of them are just rumors. Do not pass the rumors on. Please call for verification. However, that being said, I can let Jim talk if you want to talk, talk at this point. Not about rumors. Jim is going to talk about other things, but we'll throw the camera over to Jim here.
Well, I'll go over there.
Okay, come on over here.
Try to stay within your frame.
I'll walk out of the frame, so
Thank you.
you might have to raise it up.
Again, Happy New Year. Let me see where I am. And what a new year we're in line for, right? Well, let's address rumors. What kind of questions do you have on class action lawsuits in Arizona? Any?
Well, I just saw that we are now, there's a lawsuit in California and now Arizona, and now we're in part of, I mean, you know, the armor's, there's a chink in the armor, so I imagine those lawsuits are gonna keep on coming.
Sure. Good question. I'll address that. Any other directions you want to cover? Thank you for volunteering. All right, well, let me touch on a couple of things. First off, it's interesting that, you know, I said before we started the meeting that, you know, I'm doing a couple of classes here in the next month. And it's interesting, AAR is a sponsor, and it's interesting how AAR is giving me instructions on what I can talk about and what I can't talk about. Of course, whenever they say that to me, it's like, you're talking to me, you kidding me? I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. But here's the memo that AAR put out last week. First of all, AAR got served a week ago Friday. And in addition to AAR, I think I heard the discussion. The other folks in the mix are Phoenix Association of Realtors, Scottsdale. We serve Tucson. Those are the associations that got served. And then HomeSmart, My Home Group, Realty One, West USA, Hague Partners, Realty Execs, Valley Metro, Arizona Best, North and Company, North and Co, Silverleaf, Walt Danley, Christie's, Roy Long and Tierra Antigua. Oh, did I say Tucson Association?
Yeah.
So, they did bring Tucson into the mix as well. So this is going from what's happening in Missouri to what's happening throughout the country. Of course, when the verdict came out on Halloween against NAR for 1.8 billion, the copycats started. I think we're currently over 20 at this point. We started the new year at about 18 copycats, and now that Arizona and California joined in the mix, there's that many more that are happening. This is not yet a class action lawsuit, although it seeks to become a class action lawsuit. And I would think that the attorneys are a little disappointed because there's not a lot of publicity on it. I mean, I had to go searching in order to get info on it. As I mentioned, Catherine Rieger put out a little article. I want to say Sunday is the first time I saw it, although it wasn't in Sunday's paper. Well, it'll be interesting to see what's happening. But anyway, here's how AAR responds to it. And the title is A Current Lawsuit Filed in Arizona. In October of 23, NAR received an adverse verdict in the class action antitrust lawsuit. Following that verdict, plaintiffs' attorneys began filing copycat lawsuits all across the country. The copycat lawsuits often include state realtor associations, local associations, and brokerages. Unfortunately, our state association has now been named in a lawsuit of this nature, along with 4 of our local associations and several corporate defendants. We have not been served with the lawsuit and were therefore not yet required to respond. The plaintiff's complaint makes similar allegations to those made by plaintiffs in the most recent Burnett, which is Burnett versus NAR, which the case in Missouri, relating to the practice of cooperative compensation, transparent and accessible marketplace possibilities. Sellers can sell their home for more. Sellers can sell their home for more and have, oh, wait a minute, did I skip something here? Oh, sorry. Here's NAR's defense, basically. Relating to the practices of cooperative compensation, NAR maintains, and we agree, that the practice of cooperative compensation makes efficient, transparent, and accessible marketplaces possible. Sellers can sell their home for more and have their home seen by more buyers, while buyers have more choices of homes and can afford representation. We are reviewing the filing and will respond to it in court at the appropriate time. Although we will not be able to discuss legal strategies, as doing so could jeopardize applicable attorney-client privileges. AAR will keep members updated as significant events occur, and as those will be a matter of public record and not confidential in nature. So based on this, you kind of have the opportunity to understand why you see so many folks when they're named in a lawsuit and when the news media shows up with a microphone and say, would you care to comment on the recent legislation? And the answer is, am I on something?
No, I'm just gonna ship this off, so
Okay.
you're on hold.
And the media shows up with any conversations, the conversation is always no comment. Not because they have anything to hide, it's not because they're guilty of anything, it's just because there's they need to figure out what's going on, and you don't want to give the plaintiffs additional reasons to bring out or come up in the lawsuit. So that's kind of where we are with the lawsuit situation. Again, it is serious. When you do some investigation and I came up, I found the source of the actual suit. Not that I was served. This is not my this is not my summons, by the way. This is just a copy of of the complaint. And as I read it, it changed my opinion of the fact that this is a silly copycat lawsuit. So this is folks that know what they're doing. They've been here before, not first rodeo, et cetera, et cetera. The main attorneys are folks from Minnesota who also have a company, who also have a branch here in Scottsdale. And these Minnesota folks are experienced with class action lawsuits. In fact, they were the lead attorney on a class action matter involving retired NFL players. And were won in that instance. So again, it's interesting to read the whole thing, and it's, well, what's going on with that? So anyway, that's what's happening with the lawsuit. Usually what happens, and well, let me see. I've had the experience of having been sued a couple dozen times, more than that. In my time at John Hall, Rickey one, other companies. And usually the emotions are real high and the nerves are real high in the first week or two. And then after a while, you start to see what's the real matter and what's going on here. In December, NAR had a podcast talking about their lawsuit and what they were going to do. A lot of folks got concerned with this NAR taking a $1.8 billion verdict seriously. By the way, you might see that referred to as a $5.4 billion because there's a potential for treble damages in any class action lawsuit. It takes the 1.8 to 5.4 pretty quickly. But well, I mean, what's the real difference? If you don't have 1.8 to cover, how are you going to have 5.4 to cover, right? They don't have any assets to take care of that. But anyway, NAR put out a very matter of fact and very offensive response to what's going on with the verdict. I was encouraged as a realtor member to say, oh, thank God, not everybody is asleep at the switch and there's actually stuff going on. And they have it sounds like they have very valid concerns with the things like, what did the judge let in to be talked about, to be testified during? What were the jury instructions? Was NAR prohibited from launching a defense that they feel they should have been able to launch? And all of a sudden, did a Tom Ferry tape become basically opening remarks when there was no prior notice to that? Kind of a can't do thing as far as what happens during a trial. So their timetable is let me see. Oh, and so there were 2 or 3. I think there were 2, Remax and Anywhere, settled prior, or they offered to settle prior to the trial. Their settlement has been preliminarily approved, and they expect the judge to rule on it for final approval by the end of March. And so we're kind of in the wait and see attitude even with that. Assuming it gets approved, I think we talked about that there in November meeting. Assuming it gets approved, one's for 53 million and the other one is for, I think, 80 something million. Still a lot of money, but it doesn't start with a B, which makes it a lot less than 1.8 billion. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And again, those were 2 of the 4 realtor companies that were sued in the Missouri litigation. Those are my highlights of what's going on. As far as the rumors are going on, I would encourage, and I'm not surprised, that's why I asked Melissa, have you guys, has Realty One managers been prompted yet or been instructed of how you can talk about this? Because again, Realty One is named in the lawsuit. And by the way, I'm not speaking as a Realty One guy. I'm more of an AAR person in this regard. Because I chair a work group and we're working on the forms revisions for a couple of forms, which is my second point I'll talk about here today. Since Realty One is a defendant, I'm sure that Alex and the legal staff will come up with what the response is going to be. But as a broker, here's my advice, or here's my comments to you. Avoid talking to other realtors and asking what their company is doing. Okay, because now it sounds like, well, whatever you're going to do, I'm going to do. And obviously part of the complaint is collusion. And part of the complaint, this is an antitrust complaint. So it's like companies getting together in order to artificially inflate buyer brokers' commissions. That's what this suit is about. There's also one from the buyers that I don't understand how the buyer doesn't pay. So why, I guess they just can't negotiate commissions or whatever. So avoid that. I saw that immediately as far as my schedule is concerned, because I had a broker meeting that was scheduled to be held this week, got canceled, doesn't pass the smell test even though we don't talk about any of that stuff. We talk more about legal issues or things that are happening at the department, as opposed to what's your commission rate or what are you guys charging or anything along those lines. And then another one, a luncheon that brokers get to that AAR is usually a speaker at, Scott Drucker, the CEO, came out and said, nope, we're not having those we're not speaking at those meetings anymore until we see what's happening here. So there's the significant reactions, and it's making sure that everybody understands not only the seriousness of it, but anything that's being said, can all of a sudden be brought up as a, hey, how'd you like to sit through a deposition and tell me exactly, everything that you had in that conversation? Not a fun thing to have. Questions or comments on that? And I'll switch to the forms and what's happening on the forms front. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Here was my takeaway for that. So, I was at a meeting in which it was brought up that there's currently over 100 active listings that have zero for compensation in the ARMLS. Which begs the question of how am I going to get paid if I show that? Obviously, the direction that this will be going in, as it picks up momentum, the reaction to the lawsuit is buyer broker commissions, and is having your commission discussed and approved by your client upfront. And therefore, you'll also receive instructions as to what you're supposed to do if the compensation offered in MLS is less than what your buyer broker compensation is going to be. And as I'm looking around the room, I'm seeing a lot of folks saying, I can see the eyes. Oh my God, I don't have a buyer broker compensation agreement currently. How am I going to do that? And where are we going to go, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that's happening. And that's going to be a skill set that successful people will have control of coming up soon. And the sooner the better going forward. Yes.
So I purchased a home 6 months ago when I moved here. Meanwhile, I was taking the online realtor classes and 90-hour classes. And I was realizing that my agent that helped me purchase my home never had me sign a buyer broker agreement. When I'm learning, like, you better get one signed because your payment could be at risk if you don't.
Sure.
So, yeah.
No, exactly. And probably there was no discussion going on about compensation, but buyer broker agreements have been in the marketplace for, I want to say, at least 30 years. I got started with agency discussion in the late 80s, 1980s, not 1880s. And there was significant pushback to buyer broker agreements because the buyer wanted to shop not only properties, but wanted to shop agents. And all of a sudden the reaction from a buyer might be something along the lines of, well, I've been to 4 open houses so far and nobody's brought up that I had to do this. So I'm not sure that you're going to be the person for me. Why do I want to sign this? Well, that's going to be a skill set that I think gets developed here. And it's something that we're looking at as far as the buyer broker agreement is concerned, to make sure that the buyer the agent presenting the employment agreement to the buyer has the ability to discuss the value that they're bringing to the transaction, as well as their experience, and that answers the question of why should you hire me? We're not on that form yet.
Those other agents didn't mention anything, doesn't mean they're gonna work for free.
Well, they might. They might end up working for free if they end up at the wrong house and there's no compensation offered. Okay. And now, even as I said those words, I'm still a student improving my filters. And I knew I was getting in trouble as soon as I said other agents at other homes, open houses, didn't make me. Oh, you mean there's a collusion among agents as to whether we're going to do buyer broker agreements or not? No, I'm not suggesting that, and I don't want to imply that. And please don't use that as a takeaway. The takeaway is your practice, or what Melissa and Realty One decides to bring to you folks as what Realty One's practice is going to be. It will not be dependent on any other company in the marketplace or everybody all of a sudden deciding to do buyer broker agreements anytime you're representing a buyer. Okay, I want to make that clear. Oh, a side note. I think I can use a side note. So anyone else notice a bunch of 990.com ads coming up since the first of the year?
Oh, yes.
Am I allowed to talk about that?
You're being recorded, so it's
Okay.
up to you what you want to do.
All right, I'll just make a quick, oh, by the way, I wasn't surprised. Basically what that company is going to be a lead gen company. They're generating leads. The owner of the company happens to be the same owner as 72 Sold and Hague Partners. And they have one agent. who's the designated broker. As so it's, I don't think there's really a 990 company. It's just a, please click here so I can send somebody, send a real estate agent out to see you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, going back to the buyer broker.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm working with a buyer, sign the buyer broker, and, we go out there shopping, couple of houses, one house, whatever it might be, right? What does it take for that buyer to terminate that agreement with?
To terminate the agreement?
Yeah.
Well, it's a bilateral agreement, takes two to dance, and it takes two to cancel. Doesn't mean that buyer, it's flip the question. So I've got a listing agreement and the seller wants to cancel. What does that mean? Two people decide whether they want to cancel or not, and if there's fees involved for the cancellation. Okay, it's the next form that AAR is going to do, because there's about 4 or 5 different instances that need to have better what ifs and if thens. If this happens, and how are we going to address that? Because currently it says, for example, something I think is problematic. Excuse me, I'm processing my filter here. Yeah, something I think is problematic is the default is, for example, if I set up my compensation to be $10,000 and MLS compensation is $12,000, the buyer broker gets to keep the difference. Doesn't feel like a fiduciary obligation of loyalty is being performed very well in that matter. There should be discussion and negotiation as to what's going to happen to that, to see if the buyer wants the credit, or to see if we're going to split it, or to see, how that's going to be. So those are, and another one has to do with, should I show you properties that don't, that don't meet my compensation requirements? So you're going to need specific instructions from your client, the buyer, to say, don't show me because I don't have any money, I can't pay you. But then there's another option. Well, okay, you can't pay me, but if I can show you this and negotiate with the listing broker seller for my compensation, do you still want to see it? But those are kind of some of the if-thens that need to be discussed and decided, and have the buyer and the broker to have options on. Haven't gotten to that form, and I got a great story about the form we haven't gotten to. Yes, sir, go ahead. Follow up.
I do believe one of the biggest fears that any realtor has is getting those forms signed just regular without any of the blockage going on. I know, across conversations that issue has come up. So now, getting those, we gotta buy, we got an appointment, you requested help. I'm gonna send you to my lender. We're gonna get you pre-qualified. When would it be the best time for me to sign that? Hi, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Sign this, please.
Oh, you're going to show me houses? Why should I select you? I can find the houses on my own. I'm on Zillow all the time. So why should I set up an appointment with you?
I'm going to jump in because this is a perfect opportunity to actually share what is the one thing that you have that Zillow does not have. Does anybody know? Coming soon. If somebody's on Zillow, they cannot see the coming soon listings. You can see the coming soon listings. You can share the coming soon listings. They do not have access to those otherwise. So you have a key to say, do you want to see things before they're hitting the market? That is your key, right? And if you're not taking advantage of that, you need to. That is how you get that buyer broker signed. Okay, make sure you know that's a benefit you offer. They can't find that anywhere else.
Before I take the next question, let me just ask, how many people have had a buyer or a seller ask them about the commission lawsuit? Or ask them, is your commission negotiable? Yeah, I was doing a class in November, and asked a question of how many people have taken a listing, and the seller brought up the compensation. And 3 people raised their hands and said, yeah, the seller asked about the compensation. I said, it's negotiable. What do you want to offer? I want to sell my house. What do you mean? What do I want to offer? I want to offer something that gets my house shown. Is the seller's mindset and the seller's motivation. Now, all sellers? No. The guy that paid 2% listing and 2.5% buy-side compensation, the guy that started the class action lawsuit here in Arizona, felt that he paid way too much and he shouldn't have had to pay the buyer broker fee. Okay, but not all sellers feel the same way. And so it'd be interesting to see, okay, now I have a question, go ahead. No, got it answered, Mamta?
So when these lawsuits are going on and supposedly and they are lost. So all these funds go to these sellers?
No, it's in litigation. It's going to be appealed.
A lot of money goes to the attorney.
Yeah.
Not just a lot, you know, I mean, obviously they start, well, yeah, I mean, there's a third cut and then you've got all the expenses that they can tack on there. So yeah, it'll be interesting, but you know, then you gotta have the source of the money. And there's not a $1.8 million source that's available for the three defendants that are in the mix, not just the 130 million that Remax and Anywhere are putting up, but the other two companies in NAR. Yes, ma'am.
I'm curious, if somebody puts a listing in with a zero co-broke, isn't it assumed or that seller, that house needs to be shown by anybody who's interested in seeing it? The buyer's agent has to show that property if the buyer wants to see it, even if the buyer can't afford to pay the co-broke. I mean, if the buyer agrees, I don't want to see anything that you're not going to get paid on, still doesn't the seller have some claim or reasonable something to file a lawsuit if their house is not being seen? That's why they're in the MLS, not.
Yeah.
I'm not communicating this well, but.
No, I get it. And,
Yeah.
you know, this is what happens as you start to understand the class action lawsuit. It's sort of like an onion and you're peeling back the layers of what ifs. And does that mean, and what do I do in this instance? So first of all, if you're an agent and just showing properties with like a ready form only, then the seller would anticipate that you'd be showing those houses because the buyer would anticipate. Yeah, the buyer would anticipate that they're going to see those houses. But does that same buyer anticipate you're going to show them for sale by owners? In your mind? Probably not. But how are you going to find out what the buyer's expectations are? Have a conversation. So the conversation to me, peeling back the skin of the onions would be, the first one would be, you want me to show for sale by owners? Well, what does that mean? Well, that means, you know, the seller may or may not pay me. If not, I'm looking to you to pay me, and the amount I'm expecting is X, so is that going to work for you? Well, no, I don't have the money. So now I've already set up the fact that there's not compensation offered for the MLS. So my next thing is, well, what about properties in MLS that have zero compensation, which is kind of like a for sale by owner? Because there's no compensation, and of course I'll be looking to you. Is that a problem, or how do you want to proceed with that? So again, understand the issues and be prepared. And you know, I'm sure you're going to start having lunch and learns or masterminds talking about how to best address this stuff. Yes, Deborah, do I still have that? Deborah? Yeah,
Tirade today, no tirade.
I doubt it. It's coming. I can feel it.
I just thinking like in my history of like working with buyers, I've had younger buyers in the past.
Mhm.
And, oh, by the way, like, how do you get paid? How do I, like, they want to make sure I
Sure.
get paid because I'm working hard for them. And I can see that. And so in the past, it's like, well, the seller is offering a co-broke compensation, so that's how I'm getting paid. It's just a matter of educating them. Most people
Right.
do not understand anyway how we get paid,
Right.
especially a buyer.
Right.
So it's just sitting down, like, to Bobby's comment, like, when you sit down to take a listing, you're going through the whole, this is what I charge, this is what we do, you know, you're letting them choose what they want.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And educating them, and then we're just gonna have to, instead of somebody going, hey, I wanna see this house, like, you're gonna have to pre-buyer meet, like a meeting.
Right.
And discuss all this, so
Right.
you're discussing, you know, this is how the business works, this is how I get paid, but you just have to educate people, and
Sure.
of course, let them know they have choices.
Right.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump in here again. So we just had one of our agents that asked about taking a zero, putting a zero listing in there, a $0 co-broke. And the reason is because it's held in a trust or a probate, and there is no money there for that. And in reality, guess they're gonna sell it during coming soon anyway. It's gonna go to investors. It's not going to go to your general public. How many of the investors do we know that already go in and say they're waiving their co-broke fees? So it's kind of no harm, no foul. They're setting up what they need to do for their seller, which is what we're supposed to do as a listing agent, right? So, you know, we need to learn how to use the system. And there are different ways to address this from both sides. So keep that in mind. Many of you don't understand what I'm talking about. If you have a property that is an investment property and you're not using Coming Soon, many times you can sell that home before you ever go on the market, but you give your client the visibility of that MLS, right? So you get a wider viewing by many, many, many more people to see that property on your client's behalf. Okay?
Good, thank you. And Mamta, did you have a follow-up?
I don't know if it is ever possible. Can we not have something in future to discuss? That when these co-broke are happening, that these lawsuits, the seller signs, when we are taking listings, that, you know, they are doing in full knowledge, they're doing the co-broke for the buyer broker, and that they will not come up with these lawsuits. Something, I'm not saying same verbiage, but that they're doing in full understanding. That's what I see here. Suddenly they don't.
Thought those are
understand
yours.
seller, that's why these
Yeah.
things happen. Then
Yeah.
before they signed the document in full knowledge, they were not asked, and now suddenly they went on these lawsuits. Just because they thought, they just convinced the.
People
system.
can always sue.
Yeah, I know, but suddenly they thought that, oh, they were pleased, and what will be the forward?
Yeah, you know, that, again, that you're referring to a form that's that'll be changed here in the next 6 months, in my opinion, because I think owner agrees to add additional buyer intends.
Should we finally come down to sellers as well?
So-
That how come they suddenly
Who
realize
cares?
that they
Sir,
are
just-
pleased?
Does this say how much I'm paying by a broker?
The system of people.
Yeah, it breaks out. Cooperating broker and the amount of that, yeah.
And so.
So
it is
we
fine.
broke it out. So
Oh, yeah,
again,
yeah.
that was about 5-6 years ago. So Arizona changed our forms. No, but I think that was changed the time before that.
Okay,
So the listing agreement. So many years ago, we used to have a listing agreement that simply said the total commission is blank, okay? And there were agents out there that did not tell their sellers what they were offering to the other side. So, and this was years ago, and so you will see our current form actually says that the total amount is this, and then the amount to the buyer broker is this. And that's there purposefully because we had agents that did not convey that. They did not communicate that. And there were sellers that were angry. Why is my property not being shown? You know, I don't understand this. I can't get any traffic, right? Only to later find out that it was 1% co-broke, right? Nobody was going to see it.
I thought when the market was frenzy and my buyer died to get this house, it was 1.5% for me and the rest of the 6% for head partner agent.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I bet.
No, back in the day. Yeah, back in the day. So, but again, and if you look, I think Jim brought this up the last time. If you looked at what a month ago, we talked about what some of the settlement criteria were in the Washington, was it the Washington?
Missouri.
Well, but it was to the real estate company that agreed to settle.
Yeah.
Was it in Washington?
No, Missouri.
Well, it was the Missouri lawsuit, but.
Yeah.
But
But two of the complainants agreed to two of the defendants agreed to settle.
and the defendants that settled, some of the things that they agreed to were that they would no longer state that buyers agents were working for free.
Right.
Right. And it was very funny at my office manager meeting last month. I brought in a flyer that was a newsletter that I'd received in like 2005 from one of our other managing brokers and had this big little section that said, I work for free, right? And, you know, but it was 2005, right? It was a long time ago, but I had fun bringing it up going, this is what we used to say, but Arizona changed that 8 years ago, 6 years ago.
Didn't make it something enforceable though.
No,
The
but
Suggestion was, yeah.
yeah, but we started advertising and telling agents, do not use this language, right? So Arizona's been at the forefront of making these changes, just like this one we saw here. So, you know, if we were to look at those things, Arizona has a step in the right direction. Many of those things that were settled, we've already done, right? Missouri has not, maybe Minnesota hasn't, I don't know, but we have here in Arizona.
Agreed. Let me just cover this, the second point, and sorry, Melissa, for taking the meeting.
We still have a little bit of people left.
The second point has to do with the forms, and I've talked about the forms in the process of being revised. Currently, we have the forms being changed. The first one is the ready form. And oh, by the way, I made the mistake of going to a meeting and I wasn't paying attention. I was looking at my phone when there was a conversation going on. Next thing I know, I was chairing this work group. And then now that I was chairing this work group, all of a sudden the purpose of the work group changed from one form to a new one. So now I'm chairing like 3 work groups. So anyway, I know what's going on with AAR.
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome. As far as the forms are concerned. So the first one's ready. The second one will be probably the buyer broker agreement, and the third one will be the EREA, which AAR puts out, and it's used throughout the state. So but it's not a mandatory form. None of the forms are mandatory, but they're certainly widely used as far as realtors are concerned. So the ready form's coming up first. So we did the ready form and put it out for circulation the early part of November. We ended up with 17 pages of comments that my work group will be looking at here shortly today. And we'll be coming out with a new ready form.
It will
It's-
no longer be one page, just
It
so you
will
know.
probably not be one page. That's safe to assume.
No.
And it'll definitely, no, it's not 17 pages. That's how many
Those are no.
comments from the loop, which is called, so AAR puts it out and say, hey, what do you think about this? This is going to be the next form. And so it's going to talk about compensation. Right now, real estate disclosure and election form talks about agency and talks about electing, what kind of representation you want. So this is also going to talk about compensation. The benefit of this form, being the first one to talk about it, is that in theory, it's used by both buy side as well as seller side. And so it gets both sides informed that compensation will be negotiable. It's really not negotiable by the buyer unless there's a buyer broker agreement, unless there's some sort of conversation that I have meeting a buyer saying, well, I'll buy a home warranty for you if you choose me, or, I'll give you $1,000 towards closing costs if you choose me. Oh, that's agreeable to you? Great. Let's document it, put it here in my buyer broker agreement, and we're set to go. Just throwing those out as examples. Again, we're all the same company. That's why I can say this. And I'm licensed with Realty One, so that's something I can be saying this, to you. So understand that the buyer broker agreement, will be coming up next. But this ready form is basically going to talk about agency. It's going to talk about agency does not equal compensation. Okay, and employment agreements are the best way to go. Whether you're a seller or whether you're a buyer. And it's going to talk about obviously limited representation in the event you're going to instruct me to show properties that are listed with my company. So those are kind of the 3 topics, and there'll be an election, and it does appear that it's going to be 2 pages.
What's the third form, Jim?
The
The
first,
third new form? you said?
ER and EA revisions.
the listing agreement, the legal language listing agreement.
Exclusive right, exclusive agency.
Yes.
Okay.
So am I to understand that Missouri doesn't have the forms like we do that actually on listings that shows what they're paying, what a listing agent's gonna pay to the other side, and that's what possibly got this whole thing, this seller and or whatever.
Yeah,
All of it.
Our license is a state license. Each of the states have different licensing laws, Back in the day when I was getting licensed in 6 other states, it was interesting sitting for those tests and trying to figure out where am I? And what test is this for? And so I wouldn't oversimplify the case from Missouri by saying it's a problem with their forms. Because it's broader than that, in my opinion, and it goes to NAR and some of the NAR policies that have been discussed now to be changed or were changed on the fly. Because 6 months ago, the MLS compensation had to be $1. And now it's 0. Is that a big change or is it just $1? In theory, it's a big change because now it's saying you don't have to offer compensation. Before it said in writing, you had to offer compensation. Oh, that's signs of the cartel. But what's the difference between $1 and 0? The intent. And I think that's what's going on. So no, it's not that Missouri had terrible forms and ours are so much better. However, we are improving our forms because the goal of AAR has always been to put out the best of, the best of. And so we're, some people call it plagiarism. I call it creative research in order to find what language is better from other states. And we'll incorporate them into our forms.
Well, and I wasn't thinking it was just that. I was just thinking that if there was a comparison and that's what led a lot of whatever in Missouri, and then this Missouri law firm comes to have an office here. They're not.
Missouri was picked because they've been very friendly because of the judges, and they've been very friendly to class action plaintiffs in the past. But again, there's this is a situation that needs to be addressed, and our forms need to be better. And NAR, I mean, look at when Melissa was talking about the 5 things that the folks that are settling said is that one of the things is that you don't have to be a member of NAR, and that's the broker saying I may or may not be in NAR, and it's one of the things that the plaintiffs were looking for. So we'll see where that goes. Yes, sir.
Yes, I was just asking, Bart, a question.
Sure. Sorry, Bart.
We got a buyer, right, that is coming in with down payment and everything. We'll make an agreement that he's gonna pay me as a buyer agent $10,000. Do you as a lender have to consider that now into the loan?
The funds to close,
Funds to close.
which I said, yes.
There's going to be a cap, maximum amount the seller can contribute? Or is is the buyer?
Saying, normally we have to verify funds to close for normal down payment.
Yeah.
If they're getting concessions, that's one thing, but to make sure they have money for down payment, and now if there is a buyer
Oh.
broker that says he has to get paid 10,000, do I have to also make sure they have enough to pay him and the down payment? And then the second question on that is.
Wait, what's the answer to that?
The answer would be, yeah, I would have to make.
You
sure
still have to, verify that.
verify.
Okay.
So does the buyer sign buyer? No, I mean, for the most part, it would just be him saying, we have a buyer broker and if the seller is not gonna cover, I didn't know if they did that. I haven't.
Well-
Come across this yet.
You're gonna need to communicate it because otherwise it's gonna show up on the HUD 1 and all of a sudden it's,
Right.
Gonna throw your underwriting and everything out of whack. So any time there's a concession that the buyer is having to participate in, the lender needs to know about it.
I thought you were going the other question. I thought you were asking if the seller's going to contribute.
No, the buyers.
The buyer is bringing it in and you're verifying.
Yeah, I'm not, and or not,
Okay,
do I have to make sure they have enough to pay?
Right.
That plus the down payment?
Right.
Yes.
If the VA loan, they can pay.
If it's a VA loan, so circumstances, right, if it's a VA loan, and I can see this as we get more and more listings with 0% co-broke, possibly the buyer commission being affected, and even to the client on their ability to close on the loan. All
Sure.
of a sudden,
sure.
they don't have enough.
Well, and let me just make sure everybody understood what was said there. VA buyers cannot be held to pay a broker. It is against the VA funding requirements, okay?
So my two-part to that was, have you heard any more discussions about them being able to finance in the buyer commissions if this goes forward the way it looks like it is?
Yeah, but I've heard discussions on both sides. The both sides is NAR has an attorney that says it can't happen. Okay, well, tell me what state that can't happen in. Because again, I can tell you in Tennessee, that can't happen. Tennessee has a state law that says there, you know, there's no rebates back to the buyer, and therefore, you know, it becomes problematic if you're doing that. And I think there's a dozen other states in the country that have a rule such as that. But to the effect that I'm with under the cap, you know, as far as the maximum seller concessions, what the buyer chooses to do with that, whether it goes to pay loan costs or pay a obligation to buyer broker agreement, that's still a conversation agent has to have with their lender to find out how the lender is going to consider that.
There is no such.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering down the line if, I had heard some rumors when they first. came
Oh,
out.
rumors. What do we do with rumors again? I forget. Is it on your stuff?
So when they first came out with the decisions that were possibly gonna happen, there was discussion on whether or not Freddie and
Right.
Fannie would make
Right.
exceptions to include that in finance coding.
Yeah, and I've also heard the rumors that said that the VA has to change their policies too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
That would be interesting.
You know, understand what I think the next level of discussion is going to be, and it's going to go to public policy. And by public policy, I mean, is it really the intent of the plaintiffs of these class action lawsuits to eliminate VA buyers or first home buyers that don't have the down payment and enough proceeds to pay buy side? And my answer to that is I doubt it. You know, and I don't think that's going to happen. Now, whether it's not going to happen because it's veterans buyer or because that might unproportionately affect minority buyers, you know, remains to be seen. So I think that there's going to be a lot of discussion and a lot of movement happening in there. The one thing I forgot to mention as I was doing the NAR podcast thing, it's interesting to say that they're already working on their appeals, which need to be filed by March as well. Once March appeals are filed, there's another 3 to 6 months for the judge to rule on the appeals, which means this isn't happening here, you know, by the end of the quarter, which initially it looked like stuff like that might be happening. So this is still getting pushed out further and further. So the lawsuit that was filed a week ago Friday will probably not come to trial if it ever happens for 3 years. Okay, so it's not changing laws, it's not changing practices in today, but what's happening is let's improve the marketplace, let's improve the transparency, let's improve the discussion in order to have buyers and sellers, Deb, I think it's back to the thing, understand what's going on and understand that there are choices and that agents need to be prepared to explain the value that they bring to a transaction. And I've seen your hand also, if I didn't mean to ignore you.
Oh,
Question, yeah.
no, you were talking and
I know, I am talking too much.
should be listening. Thanks. Anyway, isn't there something that states that, and obviously this is gonna change because everything else is changing. That, you know, agents' commissions can never get in the way of a transaction.
It's already there.
Which is exactly, this is totally coming into this is gonna affect how buyers are able to get into the marketplace. Because
Sure.
We just went over and said,
Yeah.
so what do we do about that?
Yeah. You know, the whole commission dispute shouldn't stop a transaction is kind of a timing in the transaction situation. Okay, so it's not like it's not before a buyer gets into contract, is it you know, are you violating commissioner's rule in the event that you know, the buyer doesn't want to pay you and you still have to go show them houses and work for nothing? No, that's not an obligation, and you wouldn't be found in violation of that commissioner's rule. Okay, but in the event we're set to close and all of a sudden the listing agent decides that they were just kidding about the compensation that they were offering you, you know, that becomes you know, that's when something like that kicks into play.
And again, obviously, if you're not discussing that at the very beginning of those
You
things.
see the onion
Yeah.
and peeling back the onions and trying to figure out all these regulations that we picked up, whether in licensing class or whether in a CE class, are all, and what's the impact of that today and in today's marketplace? So I'm gonna let you pull the rug out from under
Okay,
me.
yeah,
You
I
can
gotta
direct
get back
questions if you
to,
want.
I gotta get back to this meeting. That I promise you, we will, thank you, Jim. We have plenty of opportunity for I think lunch and learns and all sorts of other things as we continue. I'm going to try to be very quick in terms of running through the rest of this. How many of you liked the Wine Wednesdays we had last year? I have seen hands. Okay, how many of you would like to help plan some events for this year, 2024? I'm looking for people for our culture club. If you will please let me know. I really wanted to do a chili cook-off, but I wanted to do it yesterday with the final Monday Night Football and then realized it was a holiday. So we did not do a chili night, which is also good because I was actually sick. But I would really like to do a chili cook-off. I have a couple of dates. I'll try to figure out if we can get it done this month. I have some dates here. Any of you want to get back to me and let me know whether Monday, the 22nd, the 29th, or I don't think we can pull it off by tomorrow. I'm not even gonna try, or Thursday, February 1st. So maybe I'll send out a little Zoom and say, hey, who can, not a Zoom, a little survey to see if people are interested in a chili cook-off this month instead of a wine Monday, since I can't do any Wednesdays here. So, all right, let's see what else. We're gonna go through stuff. Whoops, quickly. Please, I only have 45 people that have subscribed. We have 360 agents in this office. If you have a YouTube account, please go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. How many of you have renewed your licenses? Your licenses are due up for renewal. And just so you understand, we are not being mean managers. But if you do not renew by your deadline, if we do not sever you, and Jim can verify this, our office is shut down. So it's nothing personal, but if you don't pay your dues, I have everybody else to take care of. And therefore our office is very clear, and we will sever you immediately because otherwise they shut our entire system down. So it is really important that you renew on time, or we will actually sever you. So that's not a if or when, we have to. Just so you know, if you are not aware, there are many opportunities for continuing education. We're trying to post some of these things. For those that don't know, you know, one of the things we have about our different, oops. Oh my gosh, hold on. Let me go back because you're trying to take a photo here. I'm gonna go over there. So you pay these dues. With these dues come CE credits from every single entity that's out there, and you don't have to belong to each of the associations. You may not get free CE, but it's usually 10 or 20 bucks. So please take a minute, go look at AAR. If you have not challenged yourself to start your Graduate of Realtor Institute or GRI, I encourage you, if you want to challenge yourself and learn about the industry, and really it's some of the best education I've ever had, go to azgri.com. It is a process. They give you 3 years to do it in. It typically takes about 1.5 to 2 years. So start it. It takes a long time. Plan for it, work on it. You have AAR, you have WeServe, you have, let's go to the next one. You have Scottsdale up top. These are Scottsdales up there. We have Phoenix Realtors. Every single association has, every month has CE classes. Oh, the GRI, you can get scholarships every month. Different organizations offer scholarships. WeServe offers one every quarter to take a class. So there's lots of opportunity out there. Oh, the live feed on Facebook has stopped. Well, that is too bad. That stopped a long time ago. Sorry, folks. Can't do anything about it. We still have it recorded, so it's fine. So we have access. We are trying to create a Scottsdale, North Scottsdale, and Paradise Valley. There's some kinks to this. Would you like to see this on my weekly meeting?
Yeah.
Weekly email.
Yeah.
Okay, so right now it has some other things in here. I woke up on Sunday, I'm looking at this, I'm going, what appointment do I have with Lisa and Sydney? I'm like, what is this? And realize these are Brian's notes in here. And I'm like, okay, wait, we got to take our personal manager meetings off of here. So we're working on this, but all 3 offices are trying to have these. We have a merged calendar. We are going to have a CE class every other month, and then try to have 1 hour options, the alternate months, 1 to 2 1 hour programs, lunch and learns or other things, on the off month from the CE classes. So Jim is involved. He's already scheduled for February for the new agency form.
What day?
No, February.
February.
February 15th. Sorry. Yes.
11:30.
11:30 to 12:30 upstairs?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is January, so it's not showing on here, but I will get that out to you. And again, remember, if you guys have not taken these rev ups, whoops, I have to tell you, they are incredible opportunities. Your insight is welcome, but there's always opportunity to learn something new. We have brand new agents, we have returning agents, we have agents that have been in this business a while and are just looking to do a refresh. Those are on Fridays. We have the weekly coaching, Waking Up to Win, every Wednesday. We are offering a lead calling tonight. Voz, where are you? Did he disappear? Disappeared, but it's tonight, right? Yep, tonight here. I'll get some pizza. I've got wine, some salad. Bring your own list. Voz is gonna do a little coaching and then people are gonna get on their phones. We split up around the area, make the calls. Helps you to get motivated and make your calls to your list. So,
I'll also be available.
and Barb will be here to help if you've got somebody that needs to be qualified. So, it worked really well last time, really got people up and moving. So that's what we need to do. We need to get out to our base. How many of you would like me to go ahead and do a business planning guide next Monday during my Monday matters? Or have you all done your business planning for the year? You're all done? Awesome. Never mind. I won't do it. How many of you done your business planning for 2024? Three hands. Okay. Do you want me to do it Monday morning? How many of you are going to attend if I do? It'll be on Zoom. I do it on Zoom. Okay. The other thing I was going to do was a comparative market analysis. So I will do one this Monday and one the following Monday. We are working on getting that purchase contract and listing contract so we can do them as CE. Have not done that, but that's what we're working on. I hope you guys have bought your tickets to the summit. The 555 figure is gone. So it's gone up to, I think, either 777 or 888. I've lost track of what they're doing. It is the last year in Vegas. Guesses are that it will go east the following year, but it is the last time in Las Vegas. So we hope to see you there. Please let me know if you are going. It would be great to know who's coming from this office. Again, training and development, we have Rock Title providing us training each and every month. Okay, where'd this thing go so I can move this out of the way? Oh, come on. Coming up is how using the RPR. How many of you have used RPR? If you need a brush up, I definitely recommend you go to this. It's a 1 hour Zoom live presentation on using RPR. How many of you have clients coming from out of state saying they're selling their properties? How many of you are verifying that their property is on the market? Guess where you can do that? RPR. Go look to see what that property is for sale for and if it's actually under contract. Isn't that a novel idea? Clients, buyers, sellers, they never lie, do they? We're never told misinformation, right? Verify the information, folks. Make sure they're telling you the truth, that they actually are the owners of the property. Okay, so please, it's an opportunity to attend this. If you have not gone to an orientation in a long time, the zone has been updated. I'm being trained this week, but I do recommend you go to the orientations as well. These are not the orientations, but Rock Title also provides our basic orientations. Okay. I'm going to be real quick on this, but I did get, Marie, did you have a question? What? Oh, 25th, January 25th. And you guys know, if you go on to the 1U and you click on Rock University, on the very top, it says training. You click on that, it's going to show you those immediate training classes. How many of you were in the business in 2020 and 21? How many of you claimed your funds under the IRS for self-employed and independent contractors during COVID? How many of you? How many of you raise your hands? How many of you filed with the IRS and claimed funds under the self-employed and independent contractor? If you did not, the deadline is April. Okay? This is not a joke. This is being offered by, it's not a rumor. It's not a rumor. I'll show you the IRS page in a second. You do not have to use Realty One's program, but it is here. It is in the link that I sent out, okay? It says eligible individuals can receive up to $32,000. That is not wholly accurate. It could be much more than that, depending on how many kids you have and how many things were offset at home, okay? So how many dependents?
What do you mean by how many things were offset? What do you mean by that? What offset? What do you mean by that?
You had a child that was home,
Right.
which probably changed your work schedule. Did you file with the IRS? Then you need to go on and you can use this, there is a link. You can go in and just fill in the questions on the system. It was in my email on Sunday. You can click through, you can look at what they tell you. You do not have to use their service. Their service is going to cost you 20%. Be very upfront here. You can go use the survey, and then you can call your CPA. You can go to the IRS. It is on the IRS page. This is the IRS page. I pulled this myself, right? This is real. I filed it in 2020 myself. I had 2 kids at home. We had just moved into a home and we're renovating, and guess what? The kids were all of a sudden at home. Renovation stopped, right? No, no. Without dependents, you are eligible for $32,000. With dependents, it could be much more than that. Okay? IRS doesn't look at furry kids.
We can go to directly to IRS and charges.
You can click on claim your funds today and fill out the little questionnaire to see what your potential eligibility is. I would start there, okay? It's on my newsletter.
Okay, for Sunday.
Should be in my Sunday. If it's not, it will come out on Wednesday. It should have been in my Sunday newsletter. Okay, I would do the survey, okay? Here's the key. If you don't call the IRS by April, click through to this and get to these guys and have them do it, right? If you're not going to call your CPA and deal with it yourself, click through, let them pay them, let them get it done. But you are eligible for some money and the deadline is approaching.
So if we click that link, that'll take 20%.
No, there's a survey. You can go through the survey and find out your eligibility. You then can choose to connect with them and have them file paperwork for you.
Or go to our.
Or go to your CPA, your accountant, or the IRS directly.
You can take a vote from everyone who files today.
Yeah, that benefit was not only for realtors, it was for anyone who was
No.
self-employed.
Correct, correct. So if you were self-employed during 2020 and 2021, most likely your workload life schedule was thrown off. Okay.
Has nothing to do with the SBA. You know,
It is not the PPE funds.
Not PPE, but the other one, which was,
This is the self-employed.
I know, but there was another SBA. which was-
No.
Article, you will find it all the information. Because it explain everything.
Yeah. This is self-employed, not PPE or the small business. It wasn't getting a loan, none of this. This is free money. Okay? All right. Speaking of free.
We're gonna shut down the- We gotta go home and start this.
Everybody wants to start that. You got time. All right. Just a reminder, and thank you very much for your referrals. I greatly appreciate it. If you refer 3 people to Realty One Group, you do get your monthly fees free for a year. Let's get to our affiliates. I apologize for taking so long. Barb, come on up here. Thank you for your patience,
Happy New
everybody.
Year, everybody.
Oh, you
Don't
gotta
forget
back
to go
up
to,
there.
what's it?
Just back up so you can be
Oh,
seen.
I'm too tall for the camera.
No, I'm too short.
So I'll be quick. I know we're a little bit later than we want to be. Rates are trending down. I'm sure you guys are all seeing it. Even today, when I looked at the national average, it was much lower today than it was on Friday. So 6.7% national average for conventional, that's huge compared to the numbers I talked about in November, right? FHA and VA are right at 6. We're getting some really good rates on FHA and jumbo. If you need me to price those out, even lower than the national average. I'm here for you guys. I'm here to help you secure your buyers. I'm here to get your buyers off the fence. We have programs like the Rate Rebound and the 1-0 buy down that are really helping people get into homes right now. I just had a success story that's closing tomorrow out of the Realty One surprise office. She came up to me at the Christmas party and said, you know, my client's been told by 2 other lenders that she cannot get a loan. She had a PK 11 and discharged in August. Well, you can get an FHA loan right after discharge. So make sure you're doing your homework with your buyers, because sometimes they just give up and they don't know. This realtor did not give up. And the answer was yes, your person can get a loan. And guess what? With our awesome rates that we have for FHA right now, we locked them at 5.75. They had a huge amount of concessions. We bought it down to 5.25% with a 1-0 buy down, 4.25 for 12 months. They'll be able to refi in 12 months with me at no lender fees and $1,000 towards title, and they didn't pay any closing costs. So all they did was come in with 3.5%. So that's a success story, and I want more of those. I want to help your guys. I want to help your buyers, get them off the fence, because we're heading into a huge inventory shortage. Even though, you know, we saw the inventory numbers today, they still look decent. It's gonna continue to go down as interest rates come down.
Right.
So please utilize my services. I'm happy to help you with any scenarios.
Forecast, when is the next like Fed's meeting? When the expectation for the next drop? I mean,
They're just gonna continue. I don't know when the next meeting is off the top of my head, but they're saying that there's not gonna be any more increases. So you're gonna continue to see decreases. It's not necessarily on set days. Just like I said, this weekend alone, they came down quite a bit. So you're gonna continue to see that downward trend throughout the year and probably through next year. I just don't know exactly what that looks like, but if you get your buyers in the homes now, they can still refi, you know, once they get into the home they want.
Yeah.
We don't want people having to like scramble to get into, especially first time home buyers, people that don't have that negotiation room to get into houses that have 10 offers on them, right? Whereas right now, there's still negotiation room with concessions, and we should take advantage of it for the people that are not gonna be able to compete in that market.
Yeah, I think Barb's point is really important, is to look now, if you've got buyers that need concessions, now is the time to get them in there. Because it's gonna change really quickly. I think by April and May, we are gonna see a frenzy again as things stabilize with a lower interest rates and people start feeling like they can actually make a shift. And I'm sure we're gonna start seeing refis. So also, you know, this is an opportunity for you to be out there and saying, hey, have you considered refining? You know, let me direct you to a lender and make sure it's another talking point to get to your client base.
Or if they're wanting to buy an investment property, we also do HELOCs, so we can help them with a HELOC on their current home to be able to put money on an investment property if that's what they're looking to do. There's a lot of different avenues that we can help you with. Yeah, and I know the all-in-one loan just came out with a one-time close for construction loans. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the all-in-one, but it's a proprietary product to CMG and Epic. It's an out-of-the-box kind of loan, but it works for people that have good money flow, and they would be able to do a one-time close for construction, you know, construction to perm. So you can reach out to me separately and I can go through that with you.
Do you know off the top of your head what your HELOC rates are if somebody has a home? They have no mortgage on it right now, and they're wanting to do a HELOC. And
So HELOC rates are based on loan to value, FICO score, whether it's a primary investment home. There's all different kinds of factors that go into that rate, and I'm happy to quote you on a specific scenario if you want to send me an email so that I'm not talking out of turn. Because it varies quite a bit depending on those factors.
my client does like 8.25.
No, I know, but there's, I know with the factor of time, I'm happy to do scenarios specifically for you. And you had a question for me.
I just want to have like an hour presentation on the packages that you have,
Sure.
because I would love to.
Yeah, absolutely. I could either do a Monday mastermind, maybe next month, or you and I can meet separately and I can go through those with you. Yeah, whichever you guys choose. Or I can just plan a time that works for everybody.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great year.
Kim's here.
Okay, I'll go really fast.
I am so sorry for
That's
taking,
okay.
so come on over here. I'm gonna put, because we're recording still. We'll get those people on Facebook to figure out how to join
Okay,
us
so
later.
you guys have seen the new warranty plans. You know that our base plan is now called the silver plan, the ultimate plan is now called the gold, and platinum stayed platinum. With our price increase, though, we do add some value, so I want to point out what that is for you. All of the appliance limits have been fixed now. So on your base plan, the silver plan, your appliance limit is $3,000 per built-in appliance. That plan, however, does not include washer, dryer, refrigerator. So if you want those included, just skip that plan and move right over to the ultimate one, because it doesn't make sense to add the option and forego some of the coverage limits that you would gain by moving over to the ultimate plan. Yeah,
Gold.
sorry, gold.
Silver to gold.
I have to keep looking at it because I can't remember either. So if you go to the gold plan, the appliance limit coverage is $5,000 per built-in appliance, and then with platinum, it's $7,000. So there is an option on here to pay $100 and you can gain a couple $1,000s in appliance limit coverage. I don't recommend that anymore. I would just say if you're gonna do that on either the silver or the gold plan, just bump up to the platinum, because you're gaining several $1,000s more in coverages in other areas on having a better plan. And then you're already gonna have the $7,000 limits on the appliances. So if you have questions about the options and whether or not they make sense, call me. I would say the best money spent on an option now is that $75 option for the HVAC coverage for the hotel and or a portable unit. So if you've got money to spend, seller's covering or something like that, you're trying to spend money, I would definitely include that option so that your plan holders have the ability to submit a claim for either hotel reimbursement or a portable AC unit coverage. So that's a biggie, because if that option is not on your plan and that happens, ORHP will not pay that claim in the future. So you have to have that option. So that's the one I would say spend the money on. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm always available.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, and we've got, oh, look, see, I even have the new, see, I put in the new slide. That is also in the newsletter. Roberta, come on up. Art, come on up.
Stand back, Barb.
You're both in there.
We're Rock Title. We are your title and escrow superstars. We're here to support you guys. I would recommend check out Rock University if you haven't. There is so much helpful information, so many good tools there. Also, the 50% off escrow fee. If you're not aware of it, put it in your MLS listing, and we give buyer and seller 50% off of the escrow fee only, not the title policy, but escrow. Art?
I would agree with her, but I also say look to Melinda for your marketing needs. Melinda can help with farm, to help you locate properties, to open listing flyers, open house flyers, door hangers, just listed, just sold, digital stuff, digital for your Facebook, whatever you can need.
Melinda?
Melinda Johnson.
I
sent something to Sarah. I don't know.
Yeah, Sarah's the boss of them. So Melinda,
Okay,
her card's there too. Melinda though, she can get it for you.
Okay.
If worst case scenario, send it to me and I'll get working on it and I'll do what I can. If not, I'll send it to Melinda as well.
Melinda's been posting to the Facebook page too. She did a really nice piece on that open house this past weekend.
Right.
It was really nice.
Yeah, and all of our cards are right back here.
Another thing is if you guys have a property that your seller's not sure what's going on, or you got a buyer who's looking at it, they don't know what's going on. Send us an email. We can look up liens. We can see what kind of liens exist on it. Is it just a deed of trust? Is it HOA? What kind of stuff? How bad does it look? We can do that and there's no charge for that. So we give you a pretty quick turnaround time on that information as well, so.
And just so you know, we did a little tally and combined experience in our office between Art, myself, Debbie at the front desk, and Melinda. We're at 119 years experience. We have a little depth of knowledge.
Well, we might be from 1880.
We'll get some cake, but I don't know if I can show these on here, but one of the things Melinda is doing is that every month she will be providing a pop by. She's gonna provide these little things. There'll be 50 in our office, little ideas for you to go and face to face with your clients. There are some over there if you'd like to get them. These say wishing you a sparkling new year. They're just ideas. If you would like more than the few that we have here, just call Melinda. She'll cut some additional ones for you directly. But every month she's gonna have a new idea and they'll be brought out here usually she said by the end of
the month.
each month
Yeah.
for the following month, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks for
How
hanging
many
in there,
of you
everybody.
are putting rock on your listings? Do you like saving your clients some money? But I will tell you, please, Jim's talking about disclosure. Before you put rock title on there, please talk to your sellers about that. Ask them if they would like to save 50% on their escrow fee. May you put this on there? It is very important that the seller says, yes, please put that on there. And again, that they don't know anything about that. That would be a really bad thing. It's not your choice, it's theirs. Okay, so as we start talking about that, we're gonna have more conversation about disclosures and making sure that information is out there, okay?
I'm going to try the pre-open.
Yes,
Through our Sky Slope.
yes.
Yes.
I'm just gonna submit it now.
Yes, you can do that. If you guys are not aware on your SkySlope, when you open a file, if you click submit and open escrow, it sends it upstairs to one of them,
All of us.
to all of them, so that they set up,
Company it goes to.
huh?
You can define which title company it goes to.
Oh, it does now? Okay,
Which location?
okay.
Well, no, it doesn't default to Rock.
Oh, okay.
I've done it
Oh, well, we
before.
should fix that.
You can pick whatever title company you want, whoever you put
Sure.
into Sky Slope as your title company.
Sure.
That's where it's gonna go to.
Oh, gotcha, okay. Well, that's fine, but at least it gets that started and you can oftentimes run a preliminary title report to find out if there are any issues on the property as you take that listing, which is very important. You guys, thank you so much for hanging out today. Did you have another one?
I want to let you guys know, it's not just our listings. We offer first-time home buyer discounts as well. Senior citizen discount, first responder discounts. I can't think of anybody that we don't offer a discount to. It's really not mentioned a lot. We have a flyer to disclose all the different types of discounts that we have. But I know we pushed the 50% one the most for listing, but just keep in mind, you can do it on the buyer side too. We offer a multitude of discounts for them as well. Okay?
Okay, I am next meeting's February 13th. Do you guys have any listings? Shout it out, talk to each other. I'm gonna go offline here. Well, thank you guys for hanging in there. Thank you, Jim, for sharing as much. I know we ran long, but really, really great information today.
Thank you.